To introduce myself, my name is Deputy Josh Dubin. I've been a deputy sheriff. All right. My name is Deputy Josh Dubin. I've been a deputy sheriff since 2005. I've worked in the jails, Palmdale Station, and for the last few years, I've been up here at Santa Clarita Valley Sheriff Station. I'm a resident of Santa Clarita. I'm a dad. So I want to thank everybody here because I know being parents, we're busy. And for you guys to take the time out to listen to me talk and some of the people that we have coming up tonight, it's pretty awesome. So I want to thank you guys. We'll dive right into it. I have some notes that I have here, and some of it we're just going to have some dialogue. We're going to go slide by slide. So let's start. Cell phones, tablets, video games, and computers. The average young person has logged thousands of hours of digital technology by the time that they just leave home. And all of these devices have changed the way that we as parents do our jobs. Through digital technology allows parents to entertain or keep tabs on their children. For the most part, all of the apps and websites have created more decisions, more research to figure out what's kid-friendly and what's not, and more rules to negotiate with children, often on the fly. In many ways, digital technologies have made parenting today harder. Making sure that kids stay safe online now means navigating more apps, social media websites, and games, and possibly coming up for different rules for each of the various platforms. This workshop that is put on by the City of Santa Clarita and the Sheriff's Department is designed to give you as a parent the information that you need to make good choices in regarding your children and today's technology. Move around our paperwork here. This is going to be our outline for tonight. Social media explained, current statistics, cyberbullying, sexting, social media, drugs and weapons, a presentation from our Special Victims Bureau detective, and then we'll have an open dialogue, question and answer at the end, or whatever you guys want to talk about. We'll have formal question and answer at the end of tonight's presentation. However, if I cover a topic or if the detective covers a topic, feel free to jump in and ask a question. The information is about you, and while I know a little bit about social media, I don't claim to know it all. We could spend years learning this stuff. It's vast. So with social media, there's different types of platforms. And for those of us that don't know about some of the various types of platforms, it's confusing and it changes almost on a daily basis. So what we have here is a delicious, warm Toll House cookie that my fine partners here are trying to ruin my diet. I want to do a quick explanation on social media explained with a cookie. Up on the board here, you can see a couple of the different platforms that are available today to our young people. Twitter, I'm eating a hashtag cookie. Facebook, I like eating a cookie. Band, let's meet together and eat the cookies together. Instagram, here comes a vintage edition photo of my cookie. YouTube, watch me eat this delicious Nestle Toll House cookie. Foursquare, this is the location that I'm checking in eating my cookie. And LinkedIn, a competent cookie eating business expert. I'm keeping this. Some current statistics right now, 93% of teenagers have a computer or access to a computer. 95% of teenagers use the internet. 78% of teens have a cell phone. 23% of teens have a tablet computer, such as an iPad. A typical teen sends 50 text messages per day. How has technology changed being a parent today? Relationship building. One of the greatest benefits of social media has been to find long-lost friends, family members, complete strangers, all forming relationships on the internet. A good thing. Full disclosure, with public and private information so easily accessible, obviously comes potential dangers as well. Groups. Social media has brought back a sense of community that was lost over the past couple of decades. Bullying, a bad thing. Unfortunately, strength in numbers can be used for evil instead of good. Self-promotion. Businesses, bloggers, thought leaders now all have an open forum to share their ideas and their agendas. Celebrities. Who'd have thought that they have the chance or the opportunity to tweet live with Ashton Kutcher? Time suck. It's clear that social media has turned us into kings and queens of multitasking, but it's not always a good thing. Fast information, faster. We used to consider fast has quickly been replaced by faster. Collective couch potatoes. Long distance loves can have a date night sitting on separate couches in separate time zones halfway across the world, all via social media. Major misinterpretation. Drunk texting, drunk posting, typo-filled tweets, and other innocent mistakes are delivered in an instant to a universe with no return. Next, we're going to talk a little bit about cyberbullying. In this section, we're going to explore how your child can become a victim, the kinds of things that we need to teach our children, and what we can do to maintain digital wellness in our families while we teach our children to be responsible digital citizens. What is cyberbullying? Bullying behaviors are the same online and offline. It's hurting others' feelings online, ranges from people making jokes that are hurtful to others, or even someone that logs onto somebody else's account or profile, or creates another profile and pretends to be them. How do you know if your child is a victim of cyberbullying? Look for some behaviors, some changes. Emotionally withdrawn, depressed, moody, stressed, aggressive. Some academic changes, including not wanting to go to school, skipping school, a lack of interest in school, or a quick drop in grades. Social or behavioral changes that the child separates himself from others. What can you do to teach your child to prevent them from being a perpetrator or a victim? Social media. Help them understand where the line is between funny and mean. Make sure that they talk to somebody, even if it's not you. Encourage your kids to stand up and get involved. Cyberbullying often involves the bullying, the victim, and numerous other innocent bystanders. What else can parents do? Set expectations. The minimum age for being on social media on many of the platforms, and our recommendation, the minimum age is 13 years old, and it's ultimately up to the parents to decide whether their kids are ready at 13 years old to take part in social media or not. A tool like Minor Monitor, that's a mouthful, Minor Monitor, or some other software like that could be helpful since it automatically tells parents what their kids post and who their friends are so that the parents can keep an eye on things. Know your kids' passwords to their social media account. Know your kids' passwords to their social media account. This is important. Our next topic is going to be sexting. And if you remember when cell phones started to gain popularity, I thought to myself, why would anybody want to take a picture and send it to somebody else with their cell phone? And now, phones and cell phones and our smartphones, one of the most popular things to do today is videos and pictures with our cell phones. And sexting has become an unfortunately popular way that people use their phones, oftentimes young people. When it comes to our children, we need to know what's going on and how to protect them. And sadly, many parents just go with the flow, buy their kids a cell phone, have no idea what they're doing with it, and let them run with it. It's a calm evening at home, and what does your family look like? Are you making dinner? Is your husband or wife watching the news on the couch? Where are your kids? Your kids might be in the other room on Facebook writing what's up to a series of friends, while your other teenager might be in the different room receiving texts from a boy that she likes at school or asking her to send an intimate photo of herself. Now, when we were working out this presentation, they wanted me to read this in a girl and a guy voice. So like, hey babe, what are you doing? Nothing. I love you. I'm not gonna do this for the whole thing. But you can see how it goes. I love you too. How much? Tons. Photos? You got some? No, a special one. Because I love you. Share with me like this, and it's that fast. She reached down, lifts up her shirt, and in 3 seconds, there it goes, a private photo of herself. The boy that she wants to impress, the guy that she wants to be with, that's how fast it happens. And it's really, really not that rare. It's hard for your teen to walk down the hallways at school, hang out at recess, and not see a sext of another teenager. Even if your teen is not doing this type of activity, sexting themselves, they know what it is and they know somebody that's doing it. Some statistics that we pulled up, 78% of teenagers received suggestive messages. 2 out of 3 teenagers admitted to sending sexually suggestive text messages. 73% of teens sent sex that were sent to their relationship partners. 10% of recipients forward that message to another without consent of the person who originally sent it. And 17% who have received a sext have forwarded it on to others. We're going to talk about some facts about sexting. Sexting is defined by the U.S. court system as an act of sexually explicit material through a mobile device. 22% of high school-age teens and 33% of college-age students have been involved in some form of nude texting. Sending or receiving a sexually suggestive text or image under the age of 18 is considered child pornography. Obviously, it can result in criminal charges. Among 14 to 24-year-olds who admit to sexting, 29% send those messages to people that they have never met, but only know from meeting them on the internet. Sending semi-nude or nude photos is more common among teen girls, and 22% of teen girls report sending an image, while only 18% of same-age boys report sending an image. Teenage girls have fewer reasons for sexting. 40% of them do it as a joke, and 12% of them do it because they're pressured into it. Instead of just responding in horror and fear, what can parents do? Talk openly with your children. Talk about expectations. Be a source of calm. Protect your kids with Safeware, the programs that I mentioned before. Have an open air policy. An open line of communication. Really a comfortable, sometimes it's not comfortable, but a comfortable communication about what's going on, because this stuff is going on, as our special victims detective will speak about momentarily. Extremely common out here, extremely common across the nation. In open air, open lines of communication is one of the most important things. You may find this interesting, that kids are buying drugs and other illegal items on the internet. These are 2 actual screenshots that I pulled off of, one is a Facebook and one is a Twitter, and I'm sure you guys have seen the SCV Sell My Stuff or the SCV Garage Sale if you're on Facebook, or the SCV Man Cave. It's little groups on Facebook used to sell different items. They have, people leave their property on their front door and they leave the money, kind of like an eBay on Facebook. It's extremely popular, especially in the Santa Clarita Valley. I found this one on there. This is an ad that was along like furniture, bunk beds, and then marijuana. And this, I didn't need a search warrant to get this. I didn't need a special computer. I don't have any special super cop log on. This is, anybody can see this stuff. This is a tweet taken off of Twitter. This is from a teenager that goes to high school in the Santa Clarita Valley. And this is a tweet that he posted out glorifying marijuana and money and different things like that. Again, I didn't use any secret mega cop tool to find this stuff. This is just out there for the world to see. That may or may not have happened. Well, without thinking. In that particular case, what I did was I took the screenshot of that we have in this presentation. I brought that to our school deputies. All of our high schools have a deputy out here in Santa Clarita. They were able to identify the student, pull him out of class, conduct an investigation, get the parents involved, and the ball rolls from there. Another tweet right here. True Religion jeans. I need to get some True Religion jeans. True Religion jeans and guns. And again, this is a high school student in Santa Clarita that tweeted this out that we were able to find. Again, once the school deputy got involved, the parents were contacted, we discovered that those guns actually belonged to the father, legally owned. That aspect of it was good, but this teenager is tweeting out glorifying, expensive designer jeans and guns, making it cool and hip. Look at me, you get the message. Next, I'm going to introduce Detective Uribe. Detective Uribe works at our station, but with a different aspect of the Sheriff's Department. He works for the Special Victims Bureau. The Special Victims Bureau investigates child abuse, both physical abuse, sexual abuse, adult sex-related crimes, and crimes like that. He's going to come up, talk a little bit about what type of investigations he's working with, how he's working with the District Attorney's Office, and some of the different trends that he's seen.
Taller than I am. I had to bring it down. As he spoke, I work with the Special Victims Bureau. Just a little bit of background about myself. Again, my name is Elliot Uribe. I've been on the department for 23 years. I've been assigned to various assignments to include Lancaster Sheriff Station. Ultimately, I've been at the Special Victims Bureau for the last 7 years. And things have changed a lot in the last 7 years when it comes to smartphones and all this stuff, because when I first came in, this wasn't something that we typically handled. I'm going to ask everybody to be 100% honest here, okay, because I have a question. First of all, how many people have children that are here? Everybody. How many of these parents allow their children to have cell phones? Okay, here's where the real test comes in. How many of these parents monitor what's on their children's cell phones? See, I can't raise my hand because, well, mine are adults, but back when this was such a popular thing, when they first started out, I trusted my kids. And so I wasn't one to get onto their cell phones and look. Fortunately, that hasn't been something that's affected my family at all. But there's so many families out there where this is affecting them. How many people knew that, let's just say, for instance, one of your 16-year-old children took a video of themselves naked, and they took that video, sent it to another person that received it, that they're in possession, number one, of manufacturing pornography, and then if they turn around, they send that video or photograph of themselves to another minor, that's also a crime. Sending harmful matter on a cell phone. That's a violation of the law. That's a felony. And so a lot of these people, boyfriends, girlfriends, they take a video of themselves, they send it to their boyfriend, and lo and behold, they break up. So what does the boyfriend do with the video or the picture? The next thing you know, it's getting sent to Facebook or to their buddies, and unfortunately, our female victim is wanting something done, but what they don't understand is what they've done is also a violation of the law. So that's something to think about, because we get that a lot. This is happening a lot. And what's happening, a new law came into effect January 1, where let's just say that this video was given to a male, and this particular video is now being used against the female because of whatever happened, they broke up. Revenge porn. That is a new law that did take into effect. And we're beginning to see a lot on that. Our caseload, as busy it is handling child abuse and adult sex crimes, 15 to 20% of our cases now include sexting of some sort or another. That's a high percentage rate. With modern technology, kids, they receive these videos or send videos, and then they think they delete them on their phones. We have the capability of even retrieving them after they've been deleted. We do search warrants. We have a Cellbrite machine, which if we get a cell phone where a victim comes in and says, this is what's sent to me and so on and so forth, we can get on our Cellbrite machine and be able to figure out who sent it, where it came from, and the type of activity that was sent. Some consequences behind these, and I'm strictly talking on a teen, not as adults, because that would take too much time. But teenagers that are sending these pictures and videos, they're subject to juvenile discipline. The way the law says is that if you commit a felony as a juvenile, there's many options: probation, camp time. They can be sent to a 52-week sexual abuse course. So there's a lot of what's the best way to put it? Kids nowadays just got to be careful on what they send, and we as parents have to really monitor what's sent. I'm going to real quickly talk about a case we recently had, and this goes into luring children as well. We had a case where a high school student put a profile together and pretended to be a young lady. And what this particular person was doing was luring male boys to send pictures of themselves, and he in return was a male as well. I believe there was approximately 45 victims that sent pictures or videos of themselves to this, what they believed was this young female, and sure enough, it was a male. So that's one of the problems with sexting, is because you don't know who you're sending the information to. It could be an adult. Again, you just got to really monitor what takes place. I know we're going to have an opportunity. I can only give so much information, but we're going to have an opportunity to have question and answers. I think that would be a little more helpful as far as questions you guys may have. So, can you think of it? All right, we'll talk in a little bit.
Okay, this is the most important slide of the night. As a legal guardian of your children, it's your right and responsibility to keep your child safe, or as safe as possible. These two principles are critical to understand. Principle number one, you are the parent, you pay the bill, you own the phone, therefore you have the right and responsibility to be a good watchdog for your child. Principle number two, no more denial, learn to check up on your child. Privacy has to do with going to the bathroom, not ignoring social media and cell phone communication. What you should know and what to do. So we've talked about some stats and some information tonight. The question is, now what? Only you can answer that question. It is our recommendation, and the purpose of this whole workshop is so that parents know the importance of taking an active role in regards to technology. Here's some things that you could do to take action. Common sense. Don't overtrust. Check up on them. Blame the law. Like Detective Uribe was saying, a lot of the underage sexting, different things like that, come with very harsh consequences, felony level consequences. Blame the law. Set up parental controls. Stay informed and in tune with what's going on with today's technology. Talk about the dangers. Understand that kids will be kids. So that's it for my notes here. When it comes to this evening, you were given a packet. The packet contains a bunch of information that you may find helpful about social media terminology, websites that contain good information. There's a brief evaluation form so that my boss will give me a raise. You got to remember that social media is ever changing, and what's hot today is not hot tomorrow. So stay diligent and continue to educate yourself. One of my roles, and the reason why I guess was chosen to be one of tonight's presenters, was our station, the Santa Clarita Valley Sheriff's Station, takes an active role in social media. We have a Facebook, we have a Twitter, we use the Nixle service, we have a website, email, an Instagram. We use many of the social media platforms. And, not only do we send information out, we listen to social media, we listen to the public when they send us messages, we respond. This is going to come in extremely helpful in the next, earthquake, station fire, different things like that. Not only do we use social media for that, we use social media to put out, positive stories, community events, when we're looking for a suspect on the loose. Speaking away from my notes real fast, as a deputy sheriff, I worked in the jails for about 7 months. I've been on the sheriff's department since 2005. 99% of my time as a deputy sheriff has been on patrol. I've made 1,000 traffic stops in my life. During the course of some of those traffic stops and during the course of some of the investigations that I've done, you run into cell phones and you would be shocked at some of the things that we see in young people's cell phones. And there has been many times that I have stopped a minor, maybe for curfew violation. It's 1 o'clock in the morning, they're out cruising with their friends or something like that. And later, during the course of that investigation, when you now present that cell phone back to the parent, the legal owner of the cell phone, they are absolutely blown away with some of the things that they find in it. And the pictures of the guns and the jeans or the drugs or the naked pictures are just some of thousands of examples. So in closing, before we go to question and answer, I just really want to say thank you to all of you for coming and listening to me ramble on. This is important stuff, and you guys have all taken a very active role in it just from being here. I know that as parents, we're super busy, and we got a ton of stuff to do, so thank you guys very much. So now, we can do questions and answers. You can shoot one at me, Detective Uribe. Janine will bring by a microphone so that we can all hear.
I would like to hear about spoofing.
Spoofing.
Yes, you know about that?
I do, a little bit. Spoofing, let me tell you what little bit I do know, which isn't very much. We've had cases of spoofing, and spoofing is basically disguising your phone number or disguising your text message or disguising yourself and then using that to, there's been some famous cases when they report, murders or assaults or some high profile crime to a celebrity's house, dictating a large law enforcement response, lots of, cop cars, helicopters, SWAT teams, different things like that. That kind of ties into social media in this way. If you allow your young person to use the internet, they have access to a worldwide amount of information. Some of these spoofing websites, you can, for free, put in, or for a minimal fee. Some of them are free though. You can put in what you want your phone number to be, and you could text another person's legitimate cell phone, and the number that will come up on their cell phone will be from whatever number you programmed in. So the person receiving the text really has no idea on face value who sent that text message. The same thing works with a telephone call. You can then call using these third-party applications or these third-party websites. You can then call into, and the spoofing cases that you're probably referring to is when they called into law enforcement and reported, wild criminal activity dictating a large police response. You can call people, and on their caller ID, or even tracing it back, will trace back to a made-up phone number that you made up. Or if I knew your phone number, I would program in your phone number and then call your child. Your child would think that you were calling because your phone number showed up on the caller ID, which actually you have no idea that I'm calling. I'm just a third party. So that is something that we deal with. It's something that we investigate. Oftentimes, people are prosecuted for that. They're very lengthy investigations. They're very detailed investigations that involve a lot of search warrants to different email addresses and different things like that. But yeah, yes, yes.
You know, if I could add something, you mentioned something about the internet. Internet provider, you get what's called an IP address.
Gotta go to the mic.
Okay. You get issued an IP address. It's a series of numbers. When we do search warrant on those numbers, we're going to find out exactly who the subscriber is. So if somebody's on your computer looking at some kind of inappropriate material, and we have the FBI task force that works with us, and they will immediately get notification that there was some inappropriate material viewed by this particular IP address. We automatically do a search warrant on that address, and guess what? You got 15 deputies doing a door knock, and the parents going, "Why are you here?" And it's because we are able to detect that somebody had been looking at child pornography from that particular internet access location. Okay.
And in that case, are the parents who legally own that IP address legally responsible?
They can be, but here's the issue. In order to get some kind of arrest or prosecution, we have to have some kind of documentation. In other words, if somebody's actually got the possession of that particular pornography, let's just say, then we can do something with it. But as far as pointing the finger at parents, not normally. Just because they access it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to get arrested for it. They actually have to have the possession of it. Make sense? Okay.
Hi, this has happened to my daughter when she in freshman in high school, and she in a school activity, which in the choir, and they said they only send information out via Facebook, which is my daughter kind of get in trouble because she doesn't have Facebook. And I went to talk to the teacher that can you send via email or call, even text to my phone number. And they said, no, we have a lot of work. We only send out to via Facebook. And a lot of times she missed the practice and she got in trouble for that. And I tried to find out, I made complaint to the school, and I do not know is that legal to do that to face the student, kind of force student to have the social media for the school activity.
Well, as far as legality, I don't know. That might be that particular school's or facility's way of sharing information. And I think that is kind of why today's workshop is so important. One thing that I've noticed is, if you remember 10 years ago, neighborhood watch groups, and everybody would come to the neighborhood watch captain's house on the block, and we would have refreshments and we would talk about things in the area. Those days are kind of over with now, and many of our homeowners association out here in Santa Clarita are using Facebook, like you're saying, and they're using Facebook private groups to communicate between residents in that specific neighborhood about, what they see, criminal activity, being a good, if you see something, say something, different things like that. So if that's the direction that we're going as a society with social media, I think the only way to get in front of it is to, have an open line, like we were talking about earlier, have an open line of communication with your daughter. Again, you as a parent can absolutely choose that your daughter does not need to use Facebook. And then the school or that organization should provide you another way of receiving that information, I would think. But again, I don't know anything about legally if that's legal or not. I think that many people use social media for the convenience because it's convenient. You could post it in one place and then a lot of people can receive that information. And I think that's becoming more and more common, which is even more important to talk to our young people if they're going to be using social media, you know, the dangers of it and the positives of it too. You know, there's a lot of information out there that's good stuff, and there's a lot of information out there that's bad stuff. And, you know, I think that when I talk to groups of teenagers that come to the station and stuff like that, I always try and tell them, once you hit send, you hit send and hold your breath because it's out there forever. Just like I run our station's Twitter account and Facebook. If I make a typo and I put the wrong there or there, I'll have 30 people sending me messages. Hey, learn how to spell, and you know. But you know, once it's out there, it's out there. And so I think that that's all that much more important of why we're here tonight.
I would like to know if you can recommend or know of any applications that are available for parents to download on phones that will track down those type of activities. I have heard through different word of mouth, but I'm not sure what's available and if there's fees associated with getting those applications. And then the other thing I just wanted to share is I recently went to my phone company and I asked them to set up parental controls on my phone. And so I was able to get a web guard set up on my son's phone, which is really good. It gives me peace of mind that he's not going to be able to access just any website. So I
Right.
just wanted to share that.
Right.
For those that
You know, there's so many different applications, and some in our handout tonight, there's a couple different websites that talk about, you know, some of that stuff. Some of them are free and some of them cost money. It's really your personal preference. I don't think that I could recommend one particular one that's, you know, better than the other one. I do know that there are great ones out there, and even the factory, if you have an iPhone, for example, some of the factory settings from Apple are good. And then, you know, adding extra apps like that, you know, obviously can help. Especially if you're a young person, I'll kind of veer off topic, especially if your young person has access to the App Store and different things like that. You know, there's many different apps out there. There's one app that comes to mind in particular that looks like a calculator on face value, and you have to do a math problem on this calculator, you know, 137 plus 72. And if you do that one particular math problem, the calculator flips over on the screen, and now you have a whole secret section of photos and text messages that you can't access from looking at the face value of the phone. So if your teenager gives you the phone and goes, "Here, Mom, look at all my text messages," and you scroll through them, that's okay. It doesn't look like you're doing anything wrong. Be aware that there's apps like this that are out there. There's apps for everything that are out there. Just like there's great apps for cybersecurity and web monitoring and some of the different stuff we talked about, there's also apps that could be used for that type of activity also.
And what would the name of that calculator app be? Because there's another one called Poof, where you,
Right.
how do you know if your child has Poof? Because it would show up in your iTunes when you
Well-
go to sync the phone.
Well, that, and you know, usually when you download an app, especially if it costs money, you get an email bill. At least I do. I think that's common if it's billed, and it'll show up in your iTunes store of apps that you have. But that one calculator app is something that I just saw on a phone the other day. There's so many of them. There's other ones that you have to swipe a certain code and then hit the power button 3 times, and then it turns to like a back office screen of hidden stuff on there. So again, something to be cognizant of. When we're doing criminal investigations, especially when search warrants and different things like that are involved, some of the technology that we have, the Cellbrite machine and different things that the detective we're talking about, we can get past that and we can get that stuff. So if there's criminal evidence, it comes to light if it gets that far. I brought that to out in the open just to be aware of different things like that that are out there.
At what point does it become criminal? I mean, my son has a cell phone. I set up his account where I have his password and he doesn't. So it's kind of annoying. He's going into high school, but he has to come to me and say, "Can I have this free app? Can I have this?" Where I'm checking it and I'm putting in the password, he can't download a thing because it's attached to my credit card.
Of course.
However, as safe as that is, and he can't put one thing on his phone without me physically putting it on there, where does it become criminal when, like you were talking about, people creating a phony account?
Right.
He is not allowed to have Instagram or Facebook or any of that. I figure the longer I can keep him off of those sites, the better.
Right.
Somebody took a picture of him from a school video, created an Instagram account in his name, and had followers, was following people, and his friends start texting him saying, "It's about time, you're on Instagram," and he comes to me and he says, "Mom, I don't know what this is."
Right.
I can't find out who this is. I got on Instagram's help site. They wanted a picture of his photo ID that was government issued. Well, that's fun. When you're 13, you don't have a driver's
course.
license. I mean, I got to the point where I'm sending them a nasty message saying, I am the parent, I am the guardian of this child. I don't know what the URL is because I personally don't have Instagram. I'm social media'd out. Facebook is enough. How can I find out? You know, it's been removed, but if this type of thing
Right.
starts to happen more and more, it wasn't criminal
But it is.
where it's sexting, but
Oh, but it's a form of cyberbullying, especially if they're using another person's true identity and true photo to act like that person. It's a form of identity theft, and there is a penal code section for electronic identity theft. Right, right. Violated. Right. Right. And that's some of the struggle that we face too, investigating these cases and talking to the parents. Our school deputies deal with that type of stuff more frequently than they should. But unfortunately, it's commonplace. And when you are using somebody's picture and, creating a profile to be that person, to, steal their identity, basically, it's a crime. And that's something that we could help you with the investigation aspect of it. Because sometimes there's different, right. Right. Right.
And those are extreme.
Yeah.
Somebody deletes a Facebook account, for us to come through and get a search warrant, it's extremely difficult. They still got to be active for us to be able to find and do a search warrant to get that information. Once, like you said, once the social media,
You have another question? Another question here, and then we'll have to come back with the mic. Go ahead, that's okay.
Okay, just a quick recommendation because I think we try really hard to stay afront of all this information. What about for one of your websites or something as a community resource, keep us posted on things like Poof and trick apps and all that, because then it's a way to stay on top of it. Otherwise, okay.
That's a great idea. And I'm always, I'm part of the crime prevention unit at the station. There's a group of 8 zone leaders, myself, a sergeant, and a lieutenant. And we kind of collectively listen to what is going on in the Santa Clarita Valley and work with our detective bureau. And if we have a suspect that we're looking for, we put it out. If we have a positive story, we put it out, a road closure. But I'm always looking for different stuff. That's a great idea. Doing a Facebook post, or, we have the Nixle service and we're able to write longer posts, but that is a great idea. Talking about like a technology update type of thing.
I have a couple of questions. Number one, is the information that you're giving tonight that our kids should know about, is it being taught in school? Is there a class in school that talks about all the illegalities that the kids are doing and what the effects are? Is there anything like that happening right now in the schools?
That is a great question. And I'll have to find the answer out for you because I don't know off the top of my head.
Well, if there isn't, there should be.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And you know, we're pretty fortunate in the Santa Clarita Valley. Our school districts are pretty proactive. You know, we have the Defy It program and we have a bunch of other really great programs. We have a school deputy at every high school and they monitor the junior high and the feeder elementary schools. So we're pretty lucky as a city in whole. But I'm sure there is something. I just don't know information off the top of my head about that.
The Santa Clarita Valley, Simi Valley, Ventura County is basically so far ahead of any other county in all of California. And I speak about that because I represent the San Fernando Valley. I work with a group called Because I Love You in the San Fernando Valley. And one of the things that we tell our parents when they come the first time in orientation is, first of all, do not let, and I noticed when you were talking about what we should do as parents, one of the things that wasn't mentioned is we tell parents do not let a computer be in their bedrooms with a closed door. That computers should be in a public area in the house, like the living room, the kitchen, at all times. So anytime they're on it, somebody can walk by and see what they're doing.
Well said.
Another thing that I question, and I'm a lot older now because I remember the days when there were no cell phones, and it's amazing how we all survived, and we all got a hold of our parents if we needed to, I know, and the thing today is people don't understand that you know that you can absolutely survive, especially our kids can survive without a cell phone. One of the consequences that a lot of our parents do come to our organization is they take the cell phone away. That's their lifeline. And a lot of parents are afraid to do it. They say, well, you know, oh my God, what are they going to do? I said, well, first of all, everybody they know has a cell phone. So if they need to use a cell phone, they'll go to their friend and use their friend's cell phone.
Right.
It's just a little bit more inconvenient for them. But I'm now telling a lot of parents is when you give somebody a cell phone, if I had a youth right now in school, and I gave somebody a cell phone, there would be maybe 2 or 3 numbers that they could call with that cell phone. That would be their home, and to get a hold of me, and to get a hold of a spouse, and maybe to get a hold of the place where we work. And that's the only reason, as far as I'm concerned, they should have a cell phone. I mean, for no other reason.
I have a question here. What can you do about closing a Facebook account of someone that's passed away?
There is a help section on Facebook. If you go to www.facebook.com, and you don't even need to log on, it's off to the side. It says help or about or /help. That is a question that is on there. And it's going to take some communication with the corporate office of Facebook, just like when we do a search warrant to unlock somebody's Facebook if there's probable cause. We have to do some communication with them. I would imagine that they would require a death certificate or something like that. But there is, I remember looking through that and seeing that somebody posed that exact same question. And if you contact Facebook through that help section, there's specific instructions on how to get that handled.
We've talked about sexting for our teens, but we haven't talked about pornography. I'm wondering if either of you or both of you have seen an increase in crime or just what's going on with our teens as a result of pornography specifically.
Well, unfortunately, the internet's a whole wealth of information, and kids are getting on and viewing these particular sites and seeing things. I mean, apparently, somebody said that there's a particular age group between the age of 16 and 26 that automatically send you pornography sites in your email account. I'm much older than that, so I don't have to worry about that. But apparently, that does happen. Now, we're getting these young kids that are offending and doing things that 10 years ago we wouldn't have seen. And one of the big questions I like to ask is how did you learn about doing this, or what gave you the mindset to do this? And it always comes back, well, I saw it on the internet, or one of my friends' house had it on the internet. So yes, it's definitely an increase of what we're dealing with our youth offenders. And the problem is our youth offenders are offending family members, neighbors. We recently had something that occurred out in Stevenson Ranch where a young man was babysitting an 8-year-old and ended up taking some pretty explicit videos between him and the 8-year-old. And hopefully I don't offend anybody, but this is reality. This is the way it is. 16 years old, 8 years old, where did you find out, about how to do this? And sure enough, the internet. Well, I saw this happen on the internet, or, I came across a website on my phone, so yeah, unfortunately, it's increasing. We're having to deal a lot more with our youth. And so we do the best we can to educate. I think that in the future, I think we will see some more education in the schools where they will talk about these particular things. Just like when we were younger, they talked about other things. We have to stay with the times and keep up with technology. Hopefully that answered your question.
While you're walking back there, to add on top of that, one of my jobs at the sheriff's station is when the news media comes, I do the interviews. I'm the only one silly enough to stand in front of the camera at the station. But, we had a case, I remember it was raining, because I was standing outside when it was raining for a long period of time, up at West Ranch High School, that somebody sent a tweet regarding bringing a gun to school. I'm sure you remember that. It was on every single news station, the LA Times, KFWB, everybody was out there talking to me. We had all of our school deputies, extra deputies on campus. And, when we talked to that student, and when we talked to the parents, and, obviously a massive investigation launched, it was kind of, the consequences won't realize what could come off as, it was a joke. It has serious implications. And like I said, once it's out there, you hit send and hold your breath, and it's out there. So also just something to, part of the education thing, and what you were saying, sir, about teaching kids about that. You're absolutely right.
Okay, if you said to send a sext and receive a sext if your teen is a felony, what can you tell teens about not receiving a text that somebody sends them? I mean, they're going to open it.
Okay. Just mere sexting, texting back and forth is not a crime. As long as we don't have an adult that's luring a minor by the use of using text and so forth. That in itself is not a crime. What is a crime is when you're taking videos or photos of a naked body and you're sending it to anybody else, whether it be adult or a minor. That in itself is a crime. Okay, so I don't want you to get confused as far as texting back and forth. If kids are sending explicit text back and forth, that's not something we deal with. It's the actual photographs or videos are what we do the investigation on. Okay.
And they open it, are they committing a felony?
They're not committing a crime. And again, the mere possession of pornography is a misdemeanor, not a felony. And I don't want you to get confused with that either. When you manufacture, I know it's like, just taking a video of yourself and sending it, that's considered manufacturing. You're manufacturing a child pornography video. So no, the mere fact you receive it, you get it, and you open it up, as long as you're not keeping it and showing all your buddies in school, then you're fine. You delete it, end of story.
So somebody sends it, you just delete it.
Yeah, you
and
delete it,
and you
get
can't
rid of
be
it.
in trouble for that.
Right.
Okay.
Last two questions.
Passing it on, though, like this young lady said here, you pass it on to somebody else, guess what? Now you're in trouble.
The information that you gave us tonight, is this available on your website, this information? Because you have about maybe 70 or 80 people here. There's thousands of us sitting out here in Santa Clarita. Why not make this available, put it on a URL that you have at the sheriff's station, and share this information and share it with everyone so we have a better understanding? And like one person asked about, well, can you give us more information and for a protective situation where you want to have update on technology?
Right.
This would be really valuable because as soon as you put this out, it's going to be updated in about 3 months. It's going to change. I know that a lot of the monitoring that you have for cell phones and so forth, I bought multiples of those. They were so outdated within 3 months, they were already, you had to get rid of it because it didn't work any longer.
Right.
So these things really, it's hard for us to stay on top of it.
Agreed.
Okay, and the kids are way ahead of us.
Agreed.
With this. So if you can provide some URL of some sort, even if it's not yours, but if it's LA County or whatever,
Right.
it doesn't matter.
And that is certainly something that we want to do. The other recommendation, this tonight's, these little gray cameras, we're going to record that and put that on, edit it up, and we're going to record that and put that on a URL for people that couldn't be here tonight. But as far as ongoing stuff, I totally agree. And you know, we have downtown out of Monterey Park, out of our headquarters building, we have what's called the Sheriff's Department e-com unit, which are doing a lot of different stuff like that, testing new products and monitoring and seeing what, you know, comes up on the internet, listening to social media. So they're doing part of it. The Sheriff's Department has certainly as a whole embraced this. Santa Clarita Station, as far as social media goes, out of all the sheriff station, over 20 sheriff station, is the leader as far as individual stations go. But yeah, you are certainly correct. And that is something that we want to continue to do. Well, all of our lines of communication, again, something, if you guys have, I don't know if it's in your notes or not, or if you have notes, we have a Facebook page at our station. If you just log on to your normal Facebook account, and at the top there's a white search bar, type in Santa Clarita Valley Sheriff Station, our page will come up. We have about 3,900 likes. I post stuff on there, and the rest of the crime prevention does at least once a day. If you're on Twitter, at SCV Sheriff, I have a personal Twitter, at JDLASD. We have the Nixle service, which is a free service. It's www.nixle.com, Nixle. And that service allows you to receive text and email updates from our station. All of our press releases, emergency information, anything is going out via Nixle now. Especially with the amount of people that are losing the home phone and switching to cell phones only. The Nixle service is coming in very handy. We've received a ton of positive feedback. It's free to sign up. It takes like 2 seconds. www.nixle.com. We have a station website, which is www.santaclarita.lasd.org. santaclarita.lasd, like Los Angeles Sheriff's Department.org. Nixle is www.nixle.com, Nixle. And when you go to that main page, it'll say like citizen sign up on the top right corner. Just click on that, follow the directions. If you want to receive a text or an email or both or whatever, you can set all the different settings. Who you want to receive information, make sure you check Santa Clarita Valley Sheriff Station. The city has a part of Nixle too. You can receive updates from the city. So these are all, we have an Instagram account at SCV Sheriff again. Really, if you Google SCV Sheriff, you'll find all of our different things. But we understand that different people receive their information in different ways, and different people like different platforms. So we're trying to make all of our information available on all the different platforms. So that's how if we were to push out a technology update or anything like that, we would push it out like that on all of our platforms simultaneously.
Last question.
I might have missed it, but did you talk about Snapchat, and is the information and pictures still there after?
Well, that is an ongoing debate. We were just talking about that. Snapchat is an app that was designed that you could take a picture and send it to somebody, and that somebody that receives it could view the picture for a few seconds, and then allegedly the picture disappears. Allegedly. Well, allegedly, the reason for this app was that you could send somebody a picture, perhaps a naked picture, they could look at it and go, ooh, and then it deletes, you know, and there's no evidence of it. However, there's been some stuff in the news regarding that app that it maybe didn't delete, and then it had allegedly a blocker for you to take a screenshot of that. It wouldn't let you do that, and then it would notify the other person, but people have found ways around that. So it's an ongoing thing. I don't know all the details about it. I have been reading some stories in the media regarding that. I think one thing to remember and to relay to our children is, going to do that, again, you hit send and you hold your breath, and it's out there forever, whether you're using an app or a text message or an email or different things like that. So,
And parents, if your children receive an unwelcome video, picture, or something like that, please report it to the Santa Clarita Sheriff Station, because that's what we do. We handle those kind of cases, okay?
okay, I'm sorry. I'm getting the wrap it up signal. So if any of you guys have any additional questions, you can email me, call me at the station. My name is Josh Dubin. I'm a deputy in the crime prevention unit. If I don't know the answer, I will find somebody that knows the answer.
Are there more questions? Okay.
I'm available all night long.
He's on the night shift.
I'm sorry, it's just that there's so few of these type of things that we have, and these are so important. And the more that we have, and the more questions we get out there, the more education we as parents have.
Agreed.
And unfortunately, one of the biggest things that we find today is that our children have no fear of authority, meaning they don't fear you, and they don't fear the internet, and they don't fear anything else that you're going to tell them is going to happen to them unless it actually happens to them. And we have to see that. And I was very surprised when you said that one of the parents back there mentioned something about a kid taking a nude picture of himself and sending it out. That's not a crime. Well, as far... You said if somebody receives a picture, it's not a crime of that person. I don't mean the person that receives it. I mean the person sending it. He is committing a crime.
What the person asks is, if my son received or my daughter received it, are they in trouble for receiving it? No, that's not what we're saying. If they continue to possess that particular photograph or video, yes, then they are committing a crime. But if they get it, they look, go, oh my gosh, somebody sent me this picture. First of all, if they're going to report it to the sheriff's station, that's the time to do it. And second of all, if they delete it, then they're not in possession of something illegal.
Now, does the
the person that sent it, that's a whole different story.
Okay, does the sheriff's department have any type of an arrangement where, let's say I'm a teenager and I get a picture of a naked kid that comes to me, that I could forward it to the sheriff's department and say, I just received this. I don't want to be involved in it, but I don't want to be getting things like this in mine.
Okay.
Yes. Oh. Yes, we do. It's the LA Regional Crime Stoppers, and it's online, which is lacrimestoppers.com, I believe. Their phone number is 1-800-222-TIPS. And if you're going to upload an image like what you were talking about, obviously the best way to do it would be on the internet. You go to the Crime Stoppers website, again, LA Regional Crime Stoppers. You open up a new crime tip. You remain anonymous. You provide as much information as possible. I received this on this date and time from this number. Here's the image. I do know who that person is. I don't know who that person is. Different things like that. And then it immediately gets forwarded to the appropriate station, and sometimes multiple people. The FBI, like the detective said, oftentimes gets involved. So it'll get forwarded, that anonymous crime tip, legitimately is anonymous, gets forwarded to the appropriate law enforcement agency.
And one last thing, you mentioned that there was a service now where you could take your child's cell phone in and they could download the cell phone to find out what's on there that perhaps could be detrimental to whatever.
And it's called a Cellbrite machine, and what we do is we take the phone, we plug it in, and it's this wonderful Wazoo system, and it puts it into the computer onto a thumb drive, and we can view photographs, videos, text messages, you name it.
So have you ever thought, I mean, look, we're suffering from the economy here and trying to make some money. It would be a terrific business for your people to go into and open up places, especially right next to all these little green crosses that are opening up all over the town in San Fernando.
Exactly.
Maybe open up a little office right next door to
Little
that and
kiosk
let us
doing
bring
that.
our things over there.
Yeah.
Right.
Thank you guys so much for being here. Unfortunately, I have a prior engagement as well. And if you have any questions that maybe need to be answered by me, talk to Deputy Dubin. He could relay the information to me because we're pretty close. So
A quick thought process, what goes out on the internet stays on the internet.
yeah, nice. Thank you guys.
But I'm still here.
Yes, I have one last comment about the schools. I know my daughter's in junior high, and they apparently have a lot of seminars or speakers, sheriff's department, that come and talk about bullying. And I know they say that they do that on a regular basis, but I think they have to, or they should be putting more emphasis on what really the criminal activity and the severity of what can happen to them, because they think it's no big deal. And it's the same old seminars over and over and over. And I don't think they take it seriously. And I think when they do come and speak, they should focus more on what can really happen to them,
Right.
how the parents can be responsible, and maybe in a little more of a scare tactic, like this is a serious thing. Because from what I know, the children in this community, the suicide rate, kids talking about, doing horrible things to themselves, suicidal, because of the bullying. So I just think, we should, when the sheriff's department comes out and speaks, maybe put a little bit more emphasis on what will happen to them, the consequences.
And I think that's one of the positive things that we're going to take away from tonight. We all have the evaluation cards, and the sheriff's department is obviously in very tight with the city of Santa Clarita, with the William S. Hart School District. So these evaluation cards are not only going to be shared with Janine, myself, my captain, and we will certainly share them with the school district too, because you're not the first person to say something like that. And I think it's a great idea, especially with some of the things that we're talking about. I remember, when I went to Valencia High School, one of the big classes that we took when I was there was, balancing a checkbook, and you got to write it on this paper and go through. Now everything's online, and I don't even have a registered checkbook. It's all online. So, you know what? Different times come with different things, and I think you're absolutely right.
Hi. So I took my daughter's phone away about 4 weeks ago, and I'm petrified of giving it back to her. And I'm trying to figure out how I can be smarter than her on getting to these apps and figuring out how they figure out where these apps come from and how they get them and put them on their phones. And I mean, it's just, God, I don't even.
I agree, and I try and figure out how to be smarter than people every day. I guess there's two different schools of thought on that, and I think, and I'm learning too. My oldest is 9 years old, a girl, so good times to come. I think that probably the way that might be one way to approach it is to have an open line of communication, because I don't think that you're ever going to beat them. They're smarter than us.
Or I've been misled, because we are very
Right.
open in communication, and she has completely deceived us.
Right, and
So- The trust is gone.
Yeah. I think that getting the password to the cell phone and doing random checks on the cell phone, and having the password to the Facebook, and if you have a Facebook, I know one of our school deputies was talking about with his child, that he has his own Facebook, and the child, 16 years old, has his own Facebook, and they're friends on Facebook. And on top of being friends on Facebook, he also has his child's Facebook passwords, because there's private messages and stuff like that you can't see. So, I mean, with that and having the cell phone password and really having an open line of communication about the consequences and stuff like that, I mean, we try the best we can. I mean, we're here tonight. Obviously, you have a very active interest in this. It's tough. I mean, and really, and right. And there's so many, and there's so many different. Right, and and part of what we do in the crime prevention unit, not to bore everybody, but we look at Part 1 crimes, and we have the zone leaders and different things like that. But we're also looking at social media and what's popping up. A protest and the billboard petition and all these different things. We're listening to social media, and it's hard to keep up. I mean, there's a lot, and it's ever changing, and so. I think that we're making progress by being here, and yeah.
Well, I thought I was being a really good parent by not buying my kid a tablet or a computer, and they can only use mine when it's under my supervision. And then I bought a PS4 for Christmas.
Which is just like a tablet and a computer.
I'm a total idiot because I didn't know. I mean, my kid is not using it for that purpose. I don't even know how to use the stupid thing, but all of a sudden, my husband and I went to watch a movie, and it says, do you want to be sharing on the internet while you're watching this movie? What the hell do I want to do that for? No.
That's a great point that we didn't talk about on our slide.
It's not just phones.
It's not just phones. Xbox One, PS4, all these video game systems too now have web browsers in them, apps, just like TVs. I bought a TV at Black Friday, and it has Netflix in it and all these apps in it, and that's built into the TV. It's not even a computer. So that's something to be cognizant of also. Even if you take away the cell phone and the tablet and everything like that, log on to PS4, I can access Facebook and everything like that via your video game system.
I just want to say to the mom that is having the difficulty with her child that mine was very difficult, but now she's an explorer.
Shout out.
Yeah, I guess they don't know what that is. A Sheriff's Explorer.
Sheriff's Explorer, it's for younger people that volunteer at our station. They wear a very similar uniform, different patches.
And she's been doing that for 3 years, 4 years. And so there is hope. I just wanted to let you know that. Because she was very dark for a while. And I just wanted to pass that on to you.
I have a question.
I believe it's 15 to 18 or 15 to 20 maybe. They have to go to a little academy, like a little police academy and everything. At 14. We have it on our website, the whole program, santaclarita.lasd.org. On the left-hand side, click on Explorer. It has the whole thing and an application. Nice. Yes, ma'am.
Is there a way to find out if your child has a shadow account on Facebook?
Like a secondary account? That's tough too. If I was to probably dive into that, I would use one of the programs. If you're going to use like a regular computer, not a tablet, there's programs that when the child uses the computer, they have to log on, just like when I go to work at the station, I could go to any department computer, but I have to log on with my own credentials, and the Sheriff's Department tracks, all the things that I'm doing on there. There's programs similar to that that are fairly inexpensive, that if your child was to log onto the computer, they would have to use their own credentials, and then all their keystrokes and the different things that they're doing on there would send you a report back to the administrator, which you obviously would be the administrator. So if they're logging on, Facebook, the way you log on is you put in your email address and password. They would have to have 2 different email addresses to do that. So you would see that on the keystroke. So you'd be like, oh, well, I know your one email address. What's this other one? And you would figure it out that way. That's probably the best way to address that, because that could be tough. If you don't have something like that, and especially if they clear the internet history, that could be tough. It's software that you would buy. Again, I don't have a particular recommendation on which particular one, but it's like parental monitoring software. You could Google it. There's a zillion of them. I think Norton makes one, McAfee, and it's called, basically it's parental monitoring software that you would install on your home computer, and then every time the person using it would use their own credentials to turn on the computer, and then all their stuff is tracked. Go ahead.
Hi, I was just going to make a comment, which is I'm familiar with the iPhones, not necessarily the Androids or anything, but one step short of the Cellbrite is if you have your home page and you just bring it down like that, a search toolbar comes up, and you can also have these search toolbar spotlight on the home computer. Any word you put in Like, for example, if you found the name of the applications that these kids are using, and you can't find it, if you type that name in, it will reveal it. It will show if it's on the phone or the computer through Spotlight.
Right.
These search tools are absolutely brilliant.
Right. And there's a ton of different websites and blogs out there. If you Google like how to protect your child using an iPhone and different things like that, try a couple different terms. You'll find like bloggers, and there's a big like Apple blog that tells you tricks about the iPhone and stuff. That's where I get a lot of my information from. If I hear something from one of the school deputies about something going on and I'm not too familiar with it, I just start kind of diving into it that way, read what other people have to say, and kind of go from there.
You said that the sheriff's department can tell, even if something has been deleted, you can still track it or find it, uncover it. Can parents do that as well?
I don't know, and I don't think so. Some of the programs that he was talking about in that Cellbrite machine, yes, you can.
Yes and no.
Yes and no.
Okay. So I have a Mac computer, and it holds 60 gigabytes of information. I have hardly anything on there. I save things on hard drives, pictures, all of my stuff, because I do a lot of editing for my kids' school, and I need as much hard drive space as I can. All of a sudden, it got to the point where I only had 15 gigabytes at the most available on my computer, and I kept thinking, why? I was deleting programs. Bare bones, and I could only get that much space available. So I went to the Mac store about a week ago, and I said, something's on here, and I don't know what it is that's taking up a ton of space. He looked around, and in 2 minutes, he says, well, you have all of your backups of all of your devices that are taking up 80% of your computer. I said, what are you talking about? He says, every time you sync a device, your computer automatically saves a backup so that if you lose your phone or get a brand new phone, you can install a brand new iPhone on your computer and you can restore it back and get information. My husband's phone, iPad, my kid's phone, iPod Touch, my sister's iPad because I synced it for wedding videos. Everything under the sun that I've ever synced to my computer was on there, and then there's a backup of everything on that device, which is kind of nice because if you lose pictures, you can go back and resync it, and it would be like a time calendar. You would go back to whenever it was last synced. So that's the only way I know of that you can get information back.
Going on top of that also, if you delete the stuff on the device itself prior to syncing it, it wouldn't sync. What you're talking about, I'm familiar with. Some of the tools that we have available, and we have a high-tech crimes unit that does just this type of stuff. Some of the tools that we have available that are now law enforcement only tools, even if they're not in the synced and they're not in the backup and they're not on the phone, they're still able to suck that information back out using some of these third-party hardware devices. So, but not parents in that part. What she's talking about, yes. If you throw your phone in the pool right now, you could then technically put it back on your computer and everything that was on there just goes right back on the phone. It's like having the same phone. So, yeah, and it takes up a lot of space like you're talking about.
A.FM. It is terrible. It is all about sex, and it's all questions that teenage kids are asking other teenage kids. And it's almost like a dating type of a spotlight for these kids. So check it out and see if your kids have it. It's called ask.fm.
I have a question for us as parents. What's the best way to get the passwords? Because the teenagers, they are saying that they cannot give it to us or something like that. So we would like to know privacy or something like that. So
there's.
Yeah, I know. That's why I ask.
Well, the person is under 18. There's no privacy. You're the boss. So either they give you the password or they don't get the phone. You know, and it's gonna have to be that hardcore. That, you know, there's no privacy when it comes to electronic communication when you're dealing with your minor. Just like when you go into your child's bedroom to search it if there's drugs, you know, you're the boss, and I'm assuming you pay the bill. So.
What about jailbreaking your phone? I've heard about that.
Voids your warranty.
I know it voids your warranty. I don't know what you all of a sudden you like the whole world is free. Are there scary apps there that you can only get through that? Is that like having Michael Jackson babysit your kids if you do that? I mean,
you know, I've
is
never.
it an open invitation?
You know, I've never done that because I'm scared that I'm going to blow up my phone and then they're not going to cover it under warranty and I'm going to be out a couple $100s. I do know other deputies that have done that. It basically undoes from what I understand, it undoes the actual factory software and makes it kind of like a clean slate computer. And you have access to apps that are not only in the App Store, that are in other places also. Oftentimes you can get them for free instead of paying for them in other places. You could hold more apps. You could, you know, do different adjustments on the phone that you normally, the factory settings won't let you do. I don't know too much about it. I know that there are other apps doing that are available that aren't available in the App Store. At least that's what my understanding of it is. I do know that if you do that, it's basically like wiping out your phone completely. All the factory settings and all the, you know, the different, you know, when you click on settings stuff, that's all gone. And it starts with a new type of software and different things like that. And I know that it voids the warranty. That's why I've never known. It's like an unlock, exactly. That's a better way to put it, yeah. Do all kinds of, right. Right. Yeah, yeah. It's exactly what he said. It's more like an unlock that you could do things that normally you couldn't do.
I just wanted to comment to this gentleman here. When you take your child's phone, they can also go, you have to take all the electronics, because you take the phone, they'll just go to their iPad. You gotta take the iPad, you gotta take the iPod, even the old DSs, they have chat rooms.
Yes.
That I'm sure lots of kids had them, so you take their current electronics, they'll just go back to their old ones. You gotta collect them all.
Yes, sir.
Do you have anything to offer us in terms of chat rooms? And for example, I have a 16-year-old daughter who has friends like all over the world, theoretically. So what do you have to say about that and the risks in any of these anonymous chats that they're getting into and that sort of thing?
Well, the main risk that we've had, you know, a number of cases, and even as a patrol deputy, I can't speak to the extent that the detective that actually investigates this, but even as a patrol deputy, you'll get, you never know what you're getting in a chat room. And it could be, oh, I'm chatting with this girl, she's from Holland and she's 16. No, that's a 30-year-old male from Castaic. So, you know, so you never know exactly what you're going to get. And, you know, I work the field only now once a week. I go on patrol once a week, but, you know, a recent one that I handled as a call was this girl, and, you know, she's 12 years old or something like that, so she's in love with this boy on the internet, and she doesn't know who it is, and ultimately it ended up to be somebody in a different state that was an older guy and different things like that, and he was asking her to text, and, you know, it starts in a chat room and then grows to, oh, do you have a cell phone? Oh, let me give you my number, and different things like that. And sometimes on an investigation side, it's not hard to figure out what computer it's coming from. That's fairly easy with a search warrant and the IP address. But once you get into the texting and stuff, you know, you can go to 7-Eleven and for $10 buy a throwaway phone that has 60 minutes on it with some random phone number, and it's not even registered to anybody. We have that problem, you know, when we do search and rescue operations and somebody's lost back in the mountains, we could ping their phone sometimes to figure out, you know, kind of triangulate where they are. A lot of these throwaway 7-Eleven type phones, you can't do that on. They're just slimmed down versions of it. So it's harder to kind of investigate that. So, you know, you just got to be cognizant of that there's always the potential that who you're talking to is not who they say they are. And often, that is true too. There's apps like Find My Friend apps that you can turn on and off, and you know, some kids use that, and some married couples use that too. Right, they use the GPS on it, and you know, you could turn it on and off and go, oh, my wife's at the grocery store. You get what I'm saying? But they allow that, and so some friends allow that, and if you meet somebody online and you gave them access to that somebody who you technically don't know who they are could go, oh, you're right here on, you know, McBean Parkway, and go right down to your house, just like the Find Your Phone, you know. So it's scary. It's all stuff that people need to know about.
With what you're talking about with location services, if you have all of that turned off and you take a picture of your children and you upload it to your own personal private Facebook, are there still location tags attached to it, or as long as you have all that turned off?
There is a ton of every photo you take, especially from an Android or an iPhone, there's a ton of back office data that's with that photo. And you could get these programs that are free to read that information. If you go to your phone, settings, privacy, location service, under camera, it'll say on or off. You probably want to turn that off.
Right.
Because we had a case that somebody had a $2,000 road bike, you know, like one of those racing bicycles in Stevenson Ranch, and they took a picture of it in their garage and they put it on Craigslist. Hey, I'm selling my Schwinn or whatever for $2,000. Right. Well, they took that picture off of Craigslist, took one of these free apps, looked at the data that's on the backside, which contains, if your location service is on, the latitude and longitude of where the picture was taken. Now I know exactly where your garage is because I have it from the photo, and now I know which house to watch because I know that Schwinn is in that garage, and I'll just wait for you to drive away and I'll grab the bike and I'll be gone.
Yeah, there was a recent case in the news about a robbery because a woman took a picture on vacation. Like, you don't post, I'm in Vegas,
right,
when you're actually in
Vegas.
Vegas.
That's another thing too, you know.
Your home is empty.
Right, and if, you know, you telling your friends, oh, I'm in France on my European vacation, and you know, that's another thing to think about. But even with the location service turned off on the photos, there's still a lot of information. If the flash was used, what the exposure was, there's a ton of information. What the serial number of the phone is that took it, what camera, how many megapixels, that's all embedded in every single photo. Anything for you, sir.
I recommend that to have the kid watch the reality show called Catfish.
Yeah.
It's a whole thing about how you met in the chat room, social and stuff. And this person have two people meet each other, and they were surprised that who is really beside that screen. And the kid nowadays they chat. They text a lot. Then they have the app. If you search in the app store, it's called Backup Your SMS Backup. It's a little envelope with a red M sign with a green bubble on top. You can set that up. Every chat, every text they do go to your email. That's SMS Backup.
Also iMessage.
Backup, group message, iMessage, it's everything. It only work. My app is only work on the same account. if your phone is same account. But I don't know if the separate account gonna work. So.
iMessage is like if your child has, they're doing texting, and you
Right.
have iMessage turned on, it can go to any device, computer, tablet in that you own, that you want it to. You just turn on iMessage on those particular
Right.
computers. So you can see every text that your child's sending if iMessage is turned on
Right.
at your home computer. You don't have to look at their phone.
Right. But that's only through iMessage, through an Apple product, and it has to be an iMessage. If it starts to flip over and you don't have the proper cell service to send it as an iMessage or on Wi-Fi, and it goes back to old school texting, SMS texting, I believe it doesn't work then, right? I think. I do too, actually.
It's an option on all iPhones.
Right.
And if you wanted more information about it, you can go to the search tool that I showed you earlier, iMessage, or you can go to the Apple website and just type in under Help iMessage, and it'll tell you all about it.
It's in your settings under messaging. You would turn iMessage on, and then on your other devices, you would also turn iMessage on.
One of your apps on your computer.
Right. It's one of your apps on if you have a Mac.
It's all part of the new OS.
Right.
You mean I can download iMessage onto my computer?
If you have an updated OS, it's already there.
It's already there. Yeah.
Also, if you have a Samsung, Life 360 is an app that you can track your children, watch them, where they're at, make sure that they're where you think they're at. But they can turn that off, unfortunately. But that's on the GPS, and you download the Life 360, and then you click on it, and you can see where they're at that time, where you're looking.
So I purposely have not given my daughter the smartphone. I have just let her use an iTouch, and I'm finding all these instant messages that she's sending through. Can you use that same item
Yes.
so that I could track her on my cell phone and her messages?
Do you have an Apple product also?
I have an Apple
Yeah.
product, but I
And
purposely
you know,
have
an
not.
iTouch is the exact same thing as an iPhone or an iPad. It just you can't talk on the phone with it.
I found that out later.
Yes. Do you recommend that we tell the teens that we're tracking them, or just don't let them know? I mean, that you
think it's
could
a good
read
idea.
every text and all
I think
that
it's a good idea to tell them
ahead of time.
I think it is, and you know, I personally haven't gone through this yet because we're only in the young stages, but some of the other deputies that I talked to and some of my other friends that are older, that have older kids, they told their kids and they knew, you know, especially the GPS thing that she was talking about. There's a bunch of apps that can do children tracking with the GPS, so they know. Hey, if you tell me you're going to Santa Clarita Lanes to go bowling at, you know, Neon Bowling, that you're not in Canyon Country at a house party. You know, they know that if wherever the phone goes, you're going to be able to see. And so I think
Why wouldn't they just leave the phone where they say
well,
they're going
then
to
you
be?
run the risk. I mean, if you told your parent, I'm going to go here for an event, you would have to bring your phone to that event and leave it there,
Yeah,
and then
that's
go totally separate location. I think that's less likely.
Leave it
if
in a
they-
car parked out front of that location.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think that it might.
But you think telling them is better, just so they know they're being
That's my
watched.
personal opinion. I think that you got to kind of go with what your best feeling is. That's my personal opinion. I think that, you know, hey, I'm giving you the privilege. Cell phones are expensive.
Yeah.
And cell phone bills are expensive. I'm giving you the privilege to have this awesome smartphone. I can get you a flip phone that, you know, I'm giving you the privilege to have this awesome smartphone. With this responsibility comes this responsibility. I am checking up on you. Let's keep our lines of communication open, and you know, we all stay honest. That's kind of how I look at it.
Yeah.
And again, you know, there's so many parents that we've had interactions with at the stations. It's like, well, I can't take away their cell phone. Oh, I can't look in their cell phone. Yes, you can. And you can take it away and you can look at it, and nobody needs a cell phone. You know, it's not the law that a kid needs a cell phone, and you know, and we try and really, really stress that.
Parent, we're all doing it, and the kids come to expect it.
Right. Well said. Okay, well, if you guys have any questions, I'm at the station.
Guys, please. Okay, thanks for
How are
coming.
you, sir? Hey, this is still on.